Well, joining us now is Richard Johnson, Senior Lecturer in US Politics and Policy at Queen Mary University. Thanks for being with us. When we look at the effect of this outcome, the Democrats retaining control of the Senate, what do you think President Biden will want most to do with that upper hand he has in the upper house?
The Senate matters because the Senate has a few extra powers that the House of Representatives doesn't have. Namely, the Senate has the power to confirm presidential appointments. Now, in the US system, a president cannot just install someone into their own cabinet unilaterally. They need to get the advice and consent of the Senate. So, first of all, it means that Biden will continue to be able to ensure that his picks fill his administration. But even more significantly, the Senate also confirms the judicial appointments for the federal bench. And that's not just the Supreme Court, that's the district courts and the circuit courts as well. And Joe Biden is going to be on a mission to ensure that he gets his nominees installed throughout the federal judicial system. In many ways, that'll help to cement his legacy, perhaps more than anything else, because these people serve for life and they could be in their posts for 20, 30, even 40 years from now.
In which case, where do you think this leaves the Republican Party? What sort of conversations will be taking place given the fallout from these midterms?
The Republican Party is going to have to spend the next few months looking inward and deciding what the future direction of the party is going to be. This was a bad week for Donald Trump. He has been rightfully, I think, getting the blame for some of the key losses where he supported candidates in the internal primary elections who in many instances were untested, lacked much or any political experience, and have fallen short. The first big test in many ways will be if the Republicans do win control of the House of Representatives, will the current minority leader, Kevin McCarthy, be installed as the Speaker. That's the first vote that the House takes. And if it's a very small Republican majority, it means that a small number of Republican members of the House can be the tail wagging the dog and can basically use their leverage to say, Kevin McCarthy, we're not going to vote for you for Speaker unless you give us these policy concessions, or you give us other concessions in terms of committee chairs or so on.
That's a really fascinating dynamic, because not only then might the House under Republican control frustrate President Biden's agenda, certain factions within the Republican Party itself might frustrate their own House leaders' agenda unless they get the concessions they want.
That's right. It's never easy trying to manage a small majority in any legislative chamber. I think that we've not really felt the difficulties of that, partly because Nancy Pelosi has been an extremely effective speaker, and she's been someone who manages her party better than anyone else, really. McCarthy is less experienced than Pelosi. He's struggled already, even in opposition, to manage where he fits within the party, and he's also going to have that additional trouble of Donald Trump trying to whip up some sort of anti-establishment populist elements within the Republican Party. So I think that he's got a real struggle on his hands. That is, even if he does become Speaker, which I think is still an open question.
As ever, American politics continues to fascinate. Richard, thank you very much for your analysis. Richard Johnson, Senior Lecturer at Queen Mary University in London.